I'm Sienna.
Oh no, I missed it. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening. Hey, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
I'm yelling at them.
Really embarrassing. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening to the Just a Person podcast.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Just a Person podcast, a show that explores life's highs, lows, and in-betweens. I'm Madison, and today we're talking to Katie. Katie joins us to talk about her desire to work in the medical field, her experience in various nursing jobs, and what hospice really does. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Katie, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Katie, for those of you out there, is my older cousin. Katie is 10 years older than me, and we have a little cousin that's 10 years younger than me. So then we're each 10 years apart.
True story.
Little fun fact for you out there. Okay, so we're going to do the question out of the hat. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
You ready? Okay. Okay, this one might be kind of tough. Who is someone that you have met but wish you became better friends with? Have you ever met someone like on a trip somewhere or something like that, and you're like, I wish we would have been friends outside of that situation?
I feel like a lot of people, especially like where I last was. Gosh, I swear, on my very last night, when I was in Costa Rica, I met this girl at my hostel, and we just clicked. Like, we had such a good time, such a good last night. When I was leaving, we were both like, why did we meet each other on our it was my last night. She had just been there for about a week. I was like, why did we meet each other like right at the end? I feel like that always sucks because you really like that person and they like you, and you could see yourselves just like being such good friends, and then you're just like, you just leave and you never see him again. So yeah.
Do you have one?
I don't think I honestly do. Not that I haven't never gone anywhere and like wanted to be friends with people, but
what about you just went on a honeymoon, your honeymoon, not a honeymoon, but your honeymoon. Did you meet anybody there that you wish you would be friends with?
Yeah, actually, we did. We met someone that was actually close vicinity to where we live, and we kind of hit it off towards the end. And it would have been cooler to have been able to hang with them longer, and they were actually our next door neighbors at the hotel too, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm always up for meeting new people, so
yeah, I feel like meeting people on a trip is so weird because you have like an experience together and then you just never see them again.
Yeah, and it's usually like such a positive experience you have with this person, and then you're just like, okay, bye. Like, this was fun. But it's kind of nice because like you share that one moment, and you know what I mean, like the people I met and the people like we've all met, you kind of still like hold those memories even though like you might not talk to them anymore. So it's kind of nice in a way.
Yeah. But okay, yeah, that's that for that question. So Katie, why don't you just tell us about where you're from and your childhood?
So I'm from Michigan, and my childhood was, I think, great. I mean, my parents were wonderful. I had 2 younger siblings, just a very close-knit, immediate family as well, like very close with cousins and aunts. I mean, we're all pretty close in proximity to each other. So I just remember like going places. Like, we didn't do a lot of vacations, but I remember going to like SeaWorld and like Disney.
We went on a trip to Tennessee and Kentucky together.
Yes. That was fun.
Can I ask what you did in Kentucky?
All I remember is we like stayed at a hotel that had this huge water park, and you could like play in the water. Like, you were super young.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, but it was like the waterfall. It was like really extravagant, and I remember like a train.
Okay. I think we went to like
Chattanooga or something.
Yeah,
so that hence the train.
Yeah, train. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember that. I know we went to a cave, Mammoth Cave,
Yes.
but I don't know where that is. I don't
Shout
know
out
if that's in
Mammoth
Kentucky. Right. Love it.
Love her. She was great.
So when you were growing up, what did you think you would be?
I wanted to be a teacher for the longest time. And then kind of as I got through high school and kind of figured out more what I wanted, I really wanted to be an athletic trainer. So
Okay.
those were my two things.
So I know you didn't become a nurse straight away. You became a medical assistant. So what made you do that over being an athletic trainer?
So, I mean, this might sound really funny, but I always wanted to be in healthcare, but I didn't honestly think I was smart enough to get into nursing school. So I was doing some classes to be a athletic trainer or physical therapist because I was kind of on the edge. And I had a teacher, anatomy and physiology teacher, that really just caught my attention. And she was actually in charge of the medical assisting program. And so I talked to her, and then that's how I kind of got it started with being a medical assistant. And so then from medical assisting, I was a medical assistant for probably about 10 years, and then decided to give nursing a try and go back and do nursing.
So when you first graduated from like school and all that, you didn't graduate with your nursing. You did the medical assistant first, basically.
Yes. So originally, when I graduated way back in the day, I got my associates in applied science with concentration in medical assisting. So I got an associate's.
Okay.
And then worked for a little bit, and then that's when I decided to go back and get my bachelor's for nursing.
Was there like something that happened or like a big reason that you decided to go back and do your nursing, or was it just something like a long time coming that you always were kind of just waiting to do?
Yeah, I would probably say it was probably more so like long time coming. Always wanted to do it, like I just didn't think I was smart enough. And after being a medical assistant and getting that medical background behind me, I was like, okay, I think I can handle this. So I was still working part-time as a medical assistant. Well, actually full-time as a medical assistant, and going back and taking night classes to wait to get into the nursing program. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What is the difference between a nurse and what does a medical assistant do?
So a medical assistant is kind of like when you go to your doctor when you're sick. They're there, they do their vitals, they administer any like injections or your vaccines that you need, where a nurse is pretty much the same thing. They're what do I want to say, their spectrum's just a little bit bigger, so like we can do a lot more pertaining to medications, we can do IVs, we can do a lot more procedures, more so than a medical assistant.
I was kind of curious, when you started and decided to go back to nursing school, did you have any idea what type of nurse you wanted to be at the time?
Yes, I love babies, so I always wanted to be labor and delivery. That was my love, or some sort of kids, because I just love kiddos. So
what was it like going through nursing school? Because you went to nursing school a ways away from here and you commuted like 3 hours or something, right? 2 or 3?
Yes. So nursing school is like those memes you see where they're like, you're riding a bike and the bike's on fire. It's true. Like it is. It's so true. It is probably one of the most difficult things I have ever done in my life, but it's also the most rewarding thing. So you kind of have that there, but it was very difficult. I would drive, it was about an hour and a half away. So for the first year, I was going to classes quite a bit, so I ended up staying with a friend that was probably about a half an hour away. And then as I progressed in the nursing program, the amount of time I needed to be up in the location kind of decreased. So I commuted. And so I was about in a round trip. It was about 3 hours there and back just for a couple classes.
So what was your first job out of nursing school?
So my first job out of nursing school was actually an emergency room nurse. And I was there for little over 6 months. And then I had the opportunity to be a labor and delivery nurse. So I left to go do that.
And then shortly after that, there was COVID.
shortly after that, I think I started my new position as labor and delivery nurse in February. And I think in March is when kind of COVID hit. So then it all just kind of went crazy.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for you since then. You did stuff with COVID, didn't you? Or no? I don't know. Didn't you do something with it?
Because I had the background of ER, they did send me to like a couple med surg floors or to cross train in the ER because they were so short staffed and because of COVID. So I was getting pulled off the labor and delivery floor to do some nights in that.
Was the labor and delivery floor, since that was like the thing you wanted, did it turn out to be that way or not really?
Not really. But I think that had to do a lot with COVID. I think, we were trying, it's a smaller hospital. So we were trying to get families in and out of the hospital as quick as possible. So they weren't having to stay in there. So obviously I loved it. But just that lack of patient nurse relationship was kind of what was driving my hope for happiness in that specialty. And with them just leaving so quickly, the lack of that kind of was there.
Like when you say it was like the patient or the relationship was lacking, was that because like were guidelines different? Like did you have to experience how they weren't letting other people in for like the deliveries and like limited like family members and all of that, I guess?
Yeah. So, our the hospital that I work for, the patient policy was really only one other person in there with you. So it was usually, a significant other or a family member that was in there supporting them. And usually you try to get them in and out anyways, but just, you didn't want to take the risk of you being around other patients as well, hanging out in the room and kind of connecting with them and increasing the risks of transmitting it. Obviously we were all protected and we had all on our appropriate PPE, but you just didn't know. And like I said, we were, if they were healthy and things were good, we were trying to get them in and out in like 24 hours. So
I guess, can we go back? How did you like being an emergency nurse?
I think it was very scary having that job as a right out of nursing school because
yeah, especially as your very first job.
Right, because you have to know we had, it's really like emergency nurses are awesome because we say they're the jack of all trades, master of none, because you literally have to know a little bit about every single thing because you never know what's going to come in. But I mean, I learned so much. I mean, I'm so grateful for having that background because it's definitely helped as I've changed in specialties. Just having that background and knowing when to what to look for certain things, it's just definitely been very helpful. It just wasn't for me.
I feel like it'd be very stressful, like every day to do it long term as a career. Definitely props to people who stay in it.
And some people love it. They love that adrenaline rush. Because that's kind of what it is,
So do you still do labor and delivery or did you switch again?
I switched.
Okay. Where are we at now?
I did. I am now a hospice nurse.
Do you want to explain what a hospice nurse is?
So a hospice nurse is a nurse that when a patient is approaching end of life or maybe, for instance, has cancer and does not want to have any more treatments or any sort of thing, hospice actually comes in and we help make that patient comfortable. Unfortunately, I think hospice has a very bad stigma about it. They think that we're just coming in when this patient is about to die, and that's pretty much all that we're there for. But we're actually there for so much more. We support the family, the patient. We we make sure that the patient is as comfortable, we get them as comfortable, make sure all their symptoms are managed. But definitely we try to get them as comfortable as they can so that they can enjoy whatever time, and it's hard because a lot of our patients' families or themselves ask, how long do we have? And we're like, we wish we had this magic ball to tell you, but unfortunately we can't. So we're here for the ride with you guys. And, we're there 24/7. Someone's always there to help. Obviously I don't work 24/7, but, someone is there for when I'm not working, covering patients. And I think that just honestly, I probably had the stigma about hospice myself before I became the hospice nurse. You just always hear, oh, my family member was on this and they passed, but truly hospice is so much more than just that. We definitely want to make the patient and family comfortable and help them with whatever fears or burdens, so that they can enjoy however long they have.
I would imagine though that has to take like a pretty big toll on you, because I know like the point is you're helping kind of like ease them
into their final stages. Like the whole point
right.
of hospice is you're in your final stages, right? And you just want to make it as good as it can be for as long as they have, kind of like. I feel like that would be hard. Like how, like, do you have any ways to like help deal with that as like a nurse?
Like how can you even separate like your patients from like your feelings? I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's, coming on, joining the hospice team, I was nervous because I'm a very emotional person. Like I cry quite easily when people pass. Like I think that's a normal, okay thing to do. So I was really nervous, like, oh my gosh, when, I have my first death visit is what we call it. So like when my patient dies and I'm working, I go and I like get them all, like I bathe them and just try to get them ready before the funeral home comes. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to really struggle with that. But I think after, knowing like all the work I put in to like help this patient become comfortable and how thankful and appreciative the family is, like it actually has not been as emotional at the moment as I thought it would be. Now, like sometimes when I leave, I'm like, oh my gosh, like either I get emotional because it's just sad, or because I've become close with the family and the patient, or because, sometimes there are patients that are very emotionally taxing on you, like mentally fatiguing. And sometimes it's just that breakdown that, okay, what, they're gone now. I've done all this work and, so it's hard, but I mean, thankfully I have strong faith and I do rely on that sometimes to get me through some of the tough times.
I was going to say, like, do you feel like your work ever affects your like home life and stuff? Like, is it hard not to, even on like days off and stuff, like think about your patients and like how they're doing in their health?
Oh yeah, I definitely, like, I always tell myself, okay, like, so I work Monday through Friday. So I always tell myself, oh, I'm going to not touch my phone. But like, if I have a sick patient when I leave on Friday, I'm constantly like, shouldn't be checking my phone, but I'm constantly checking, like, is anything going on? Did they pass? So it is definitely, and like I said, you develop a relationship with these people because you see them every week and sometimes you see them daily. And so it's hard to separate that sometimes.
Oh, so like with the family, because it's like, obviously probably one of the worst moments of their life. Does it help you though, knowing that like you've helped, like you've done the best you could to make it like as good as it could be for them?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like just knowing, I always offer, after I take care of the patient, like in the process maybe of the waiting for the funeral home, I always offer, do you want me to wait with you guys till the funeral home comes? Some people will be like, no, we're okay. And some people are like, yeah, can you hang out? So, and then during that time, I just kind of give them their space, to just kind of spend their last couple moments with them. But yeah, that part is hard. There's been a couple times, I picture a family member being in that spot and how difficult it would be for myself. I put myself in their shoes, and there was a incident, probably my first one, that I actually had to do a death visit on, and it was very difficult because the children were not much older than myself, and just to see that struggle, and I was like, I just can't imagine if this was my family member. So but just knowing that I have done, I give my best every day. So to know that I do that and I've done everything possible for this patient, then it makes me feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what drew you to doing hospice in the first place? Like, how'd you go from like the baby to like
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You went from
Yeah.
one end to the other.
They always, one spectrum to the other spectrum. They're both huge, monumental parts of our lives, birth and then death. But again, back to the not having that relationship. I feel like, me personally as a nurse, that's what I wanted to be a nurse for, is to be able to have these relationships with the patients and do that. And I was lacking that. And I think, it also lacking that maybe comes with some decreased feelings of compassion. You become less compassionate almost, just because you have that disconnect. So I just wanted to be somewhere where I felt like I was making a difference every day. And that's what kind of drew me to hospice, and being able to have that connection with the family, and, and even, after they pass, to be able to, like I said, it's such a rewarding to be able, like, I've had there was an instance where I had quite a few patients pass away in a short amount of time. And just recently they've been sending some, cards to my employer, and they're forwarding it to me. And it's just so rewarding to know that they felt like I did all I could for their loved one. So that's what I was missing. So
since you've started doing hospice, has it like met kind of your expectations and what you thought it was going to be like?
Honestly, it's probably exceeded. I was really hesitant at first, because I just wasn't sure if I could handle it. But I also think that the bad stigma that hospice has, is also something that intrigues me to want to help get the word out that that's not what hospice is about. Any hospice, we're there to help your loved one. We're not there to hurt them or make them, pass away. That's what I had a patient that was like, so-and-so told me that you guys are only in our home to kill my loved one. And I'm like, that's not a thing. Like, that is not at all what we are here for. So like I said, just that stigma that people have about hospice, like, for sure, I think exceeding my expectations and being able to be with these patients. And, and I work independently, really, like I have a quota for my week that I have to hit, but, I make my own schedule with my patients. So, I mean, it's nice. It's not like a set schedule. It's not like, in the hospital setting, sometimes you could be sitting there with no patients, and, so I'm seeing patients every day, and it definitely, it is just so rewarding, makes it worth it.
I guess, like, do you have like a favorite and least favorite thing about hospice or being a nurse in general?
Obviously, my favorite thing is being able to interact with the patients and the families. Like, some of them are just a hoot, and some of them are just, they're awesome. Like, I wish they could be part of my family. But obviously the bad things would be like when they die or they pass away, or, when it's just, sometimes there's a stressful day. There's a lot of, obviously these patients' families come on with, they're getting told that their loved one only has so many months to live. And so there's a lot of anxiety associated with it. So there's a lot of times where there's a lot of phone calls to be made. And sometimes that's hard. Like, talking on the phone is not exactly wonderful. So yeah, obviously, like I said, when they pass away, probably the phone calls. And then some days you just have a bad day where you're like, I don't really want to do anything today. But you have to keep going, and that's what you gotta do.
Do you see yourself like continuing doing this job for a while, or do you think you'll switch to something else?
No, I see myself doing this for a while.
I think something I admire about you is that you, like, if you want something, you don't stop until you get whatever you wanted. You know, like you wanted to be a nurse, and so you just kept going until you became a nurse, even though you had already been doing something else. You know, you get done what you want to do. Do you have any advice for people to pursue the things that they want, even when it's difficult?
Yeah, so I definitely think after what I went through getting into the nursing program and just the long hours and time it took, honestly, like anyone can do anything if they seriously put their mind to it. Like, yeah, it's going to be rough and you're going to hate your life sometimes, probably. Not necessarily hate, but you're going to struggle, but it's going to be okay. Like in the end, like the reward of being a nurse and being able to save lives and be able to help them has been worth all the struggle I went to. So yeah, my advice is stick with it, because seriously, anyone can do anything if they really truly put their heart and mind in it.
Well, thanks for being on our show today.
Thank you. It was really great to learn more about what it's like being a nurse.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I find it really interesting.
Sienna's really into the medical stuff, so
hospice is seriously a very interesting, amazing, like I said, I'm all about promoting what it really truly is about, because I think there is such bad stigma about it.
I feel like every time I've heard hospice from people I know, though, it has been positive. So maybe it's starting to be on up and up, because a lot of people like have said they've had like really like positive experiences with the nurses. And I think the 24/7, how they're always available to people is definitely like really, really helpful, because obviously when somebody's in their final stages of their life, they have probably scary things kind of happening, like, you know, they might not be breathing well, just all of that. So knowing that at any point, if like they are rapidly deteriorating, qualified nurses, literally you can just call them and somebody will be there to help you. You know, I think that just takes off like a lot of pressure for the people who are at home, like watching those people, like whoever's like passing. So I think just like even that service alone is just so, I think it's wonderful to like have. So I'm definitely very grateful for hospice nurses.
Well, once again, thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much again to Katie for being a guest on our show today. If you have a story you want to personally share on the show or want us to read on air, find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at justapersonpod, or send us an email at justapersonpod@gmail.com. And we'll see you next Monday with another new episode.